On air.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 5:30, and I call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. The clerk will note for the record that all council members are present. It is our tradition to begin our meetings with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we experience this season of the COVID-19 global pandemic crisis, we all have pivoted and become creative and innovative to continue serving our community. Tonight's meeting is being conducted virtually. All of our city council members and staff are joining us electronically. Members of the public may watch this meeting online at burnsvillemn.gov/meeting or Comcast channel 16 or 859. If you would like to speak during the meeting, you may call 651-372-8299. You may also speak by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information is available on our meeting webpage and in the council agenda packet. Please note there is an audio delay if you are watching us on TV or online. So if you speak, please mute your video broadcast first. Now, the next item on the agenda is the announcements and presentations, and we also have a proclamation. Our announcements have to do with all of our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are Tuesday, May 19th at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, June 2nd at 5:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, May 12th at 5:30 p.m. And there is a special work session scheduled for Monday, May 11th at 4 p.m. to conduct interviews for our advisory commission. We also have a special work session on Thursday, May 7th at 8 a.m. to discuss the council's shared values. Now, this particular meeting will be held in the council chambers at City Hall, and we will be taking appropriate social distancing measures. All other meetings are going to be virtual. And now we have a proclamation, and this proclamation has to do with National Police Week. Whereas there are approximately 1 million law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including dedicated members of the Burnsville Police Department. And whereas it is well known and accepted that law enforcement is inherently dangerous and demanding profession in which dedicated professionals knowingly place their lives in harm's way to protect others who are unable to protect themselves. And whereas the dedicated members of the Burnsville Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Burnsville. And whereas over 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 17,400 injuries within the United States. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas it is imperative that all citizens understand the challenges, duties, and responsibilities and sacrifices of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting citizens against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent and against deception, and the weak against oppression. And whereas the City Council of the City of Burnsville wishes to honor all enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of their duties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, formally recognize the Burnsville Police Department for their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities and their dedication to our community. And accordingly, hereby proclaim May 10th through May 16, 2020 as National Police Week in Burnsville, Minnesota, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. Proclaim this 5th day of May 2020. And now I would like to invite Mr. Chad Lubbers, the manager of the Burnsville Library, who is going to provide us with an update. Good evening, Mr. Lubber, and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. And can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I've been told that my office sounds like I'm talking from the inside of an airplane, and that's just because it's right above me is the air handler for the library. So if it gets too loud, let me know, and I can pick up the headset and do the presentation that way, okay? All right, so first slide, if I could. And there it is, thank you. So council members, mayor, good evening. My name is Chad Lubbers. I'm the manager of the Burnsville Library. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. As I'd done last year, I wanted to stop by tonight just to give a brief summary of what the library has been up to in 2019 and where we're going in 2020. But honestly, in light of kind of world events right now, I think it's more relevant for me to do a very brief presentation on what the library is doing right now, today, to serve our residents, and then where we're going to be heading in the months ahead. Slide, please. All right, so just talking about a handful of the services that we're currently providing. The library recently launched curbside pickup, so we've been doing this for about a month now. And it's comparable to what many of you might experience going to a restaurant or to another retail outlet where materials are brought to you in your vehicle. Only we're doing a curbside pickup that's intended to be touch-free. So staff are filling requests for materials, so DVDs, books, magazines. For customers, we're putting them in bags, and then we're placing the bags on tables in our loading dock so that customers can just pull up in their vehicle and then grab their materials to take home. To date, we've had just over 4,500 items borrowed through curbside service. Another service to mention this evening, the library is starting a books by mail service for those individuals who are physically disabled or who are too ill to take advantage of our curbside service. Any residents who are watching this from home, if you would like to take advantage of either the curbside or the books by mail, please give us a call at the library and we will get the ball rolling for you on that front. Two other services to mention. The library has increased purchasing of ebook material because we have an increasingly large number of people who want to read ebooks. And what we're seeing now is that the usage trend is going up higher, higher, and higher, and our spending is we're doing our best right now to keep our spending in line with that. And we anticipate that in the months ahead, we're going to see that growth continue. Previous to this past month, ebook usage had kind of started to plateau in libraries around the country, but that has all changed within the past several weeks. The other service to mention, in the upper right corner, you'll see Melanie, who is our children's librarian. Melanie is now providing story times online for families here in Burnsville, not just in Burnsville, but for all of Dakota County. In fact, Melanie has kind of become the default face of story times in Dakota County. She and a very talented team of youth service coordinators and staff are really working hard to do something fun for the kids to stay engaged at home. Melanie's gotten recognition recently at the state level, and she just recently was cited in a national library publication for her efforts here. So that's very much appreciated. And then Mayor, wanted to mention the U.S. Census. You and I had done some work on a committee to try to promote census activity and support here in our community. I did, honestly, I sent my entire staff to training. Everybody here knows exactly what to do on every line of the census form. We're ready to go. Unfortunately, the only thing we can do right now is provide support over the phone for those residents who might have questions for us. Next slide, if you would, please. As we look forward as to what the library is going to look like in the months ahead, we're looking at kind of 3 to 4 different phases for reintroducing library service into the Burnsville community. The decision to move through these various phases are going to be informed primarily by what we're hearing from Dakota County Public Health. We want to make sure that we're providing service that's both wanted by the public, but is also being offered in a manner that's safe and presenting the library as a healthy place to be. So the first step that we're going to have in this rollout of library services is going to be the restoration of computer access with computer lab, computers and PCs inside the library. And this is largely so that those individuals who need to use the computers to file their taxes, to file unemployment documentation, to file their census materials, have resources if they don't have them at home already to begin those processes. The next phases are going to see the reopening of the library for browsing purposes. And probably the last phase, whatever that may be, is going to involve opening our public meeting room space for the public again. We're taking the perspective that some organizations and businesses are that large gathering spaces are probably the least priority right now, but we do want to get those services back online as soon as possible. 2 other items to mention today in the presentation. You can see our summer discovery program. This is our summer reading and activity program for children. We're going to be offering this summer as we have in the past. Only this summer we'll have a much larger online component for those residents who might be hesitant to come back to the library, at least for the next few months, so that their kids can remain engaged and perform a variety of literacy-based learning and exercises at home. Upper right corner, the library is also, this will be the 2nd year for us, is going to be a site for lunch service during the summer months. Last summer, the library provided lunches to individuals in our large meeting room, so it was a sit and dine experience at the library. This year, we're going to do more of the kind of the grab and go model that the school district is doing right now, that the YMCA, that some of our local churches are doing as well. The organization that we're working with has the stated goal of just pushing as much food out into the community as possible right now. So you can expect to hear some more about that service as we move forward. Excuse me, if I get the next slide. Again, don't have a lot of detail as to what the next several steps of reintroduction of library service are going to look like, but I do want to give you the opportunity to give feedback, but also to send thoughts or opinions about what you would prioritize or what you would like to see happen at the library. And this goes to the residents who are watching this from home as well. You have my contact information here. I'd love to have a conversation, or you're welcome to send me an email about what you would like to see happen at the library in the months ahead. Council members, Mayor, do you have any questions for me at this time?
Mr. Luber, I don't have any questions for you, and I would just like to thank you for the update and everything that you're doing at the library right now to continue to serve our community. And Mr. Luber, I thank you for mentioning our complete count. So I don't know if you've gone onto the website of the Census Bureau for Minnesota and you look at Burnsville. We're doing very well, but we can do better. And there are a couple of pockets where we're doing over 70%, but still we're around 60. So we're still ahead of all of the other cities within Dakota County, but we're doing very well. And I'm going to just ask Michelle if she can confirm that with regard to what we have done with complete count. But thank you for everything that you're doing. And we need to make sure that we get a complete count. So Michelle, did you want to add anything on the complete count information that we received?
Actually, Mayor, most cities in Dakota County are doing above state average, and we are one of those as well. But other Dakota County cities are also performing above state average. In the United States, the last time I checked, Minnesota was in the lead at having the most self-responding residents in the country.
Yeah. So, Ms. Luber, thank you for your partnership and everything that we're doing. And I love the lunch programs that you all do at the library. And so thank you for continuing to serve our community. Council members, anybody have any comments? Thank you, Mr. Luber, for being here with us, and thank you for giving that report to our community. Thank you. Have a good evening. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone who is viewing us on Zoom and is interested in speaking to the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. This is the time for you to speak. And let me check and see. I don't have anyone. Ms. Hamilton is saying that someone has their hand raised, but I don't see that. And she doesn't either.
Pixel 3 XL in the attendees list has their hand raised.
So I'm going to recognize Pixel 3 XL. I have Ms. Hamilton, who is monitoring those who wish to speak. And if Pixel 3, if you would like to speak, Ms. Hamilton can give you directions. Either you call in or else you can do it on Zoom. And she can help you with that.
Maybe they accidentally raised their hand without meaning to.
Okay. So I will continue to monitor Ms. Hamilton's.
Their hand was lowered.
Okay. I did not see through the participants to see. Okay. Then we will then move on. So the next item is additions to the final agenda, and this is for emergency items only. Ms. Nicollet, are there any emergency items to be added to the agenda?
There are not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Members of the council, do you have any urgent items to be added? Seeing none, we will move on. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on the consent agenda will be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Ms. Nicollet, does staff have any items to be removed for a separate discussion and vote?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I'm also going to ask if there's anyone in the audience or viewing us who wishes an item on a consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Okay, members of the council, is there anyone who wishes an item to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Okay, seeing no one, I would like a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. The clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
Let the record show that the vote is unanimous to approve the consent agenda, and the motion carries. We now move on to the public hearing, to the regular agenda. And the first item in 5B is a resolution to vacate drainage and utility easement at 14420 County Road 5 as dedicated on the plat of Patricia Park. Presenting this evening is our city engineer, Jen Desrude. Good evening, Jen. Ms.
Thank you,
Desiree?
Mayor, Council. Are we proceeding with 5B before 5A?
Oh, I am very sorry. I skipped 5A, didn't I? Okay. We'll do 5A, Ms. Desrude.
Okay, thank you.
Your item also, it's the resolution vacating the drainage and utility easement at 1512 Woodhill Drive as dedicated on the plat on VISTA View 6th edition and as provided in documents number 550838. Ms. Desrude.
And I believe I have a presentation. Thank you. So this is sort of accompanying an agenda item that you have approved in the consent agenda for the International Outreach Church. If I could have the next slide, please. On this slide, we have shown the existing easements that are dedicated on the plat and on the document. And we have in red the 42-inch storm sewer that is shown. It kind of slips out of the dedicated easement. And so the applicant is requesting that we vacate that whole green area. And then if we could go to the next slide, please. And then dedicate on the plat the correct centered easement that's in green. And then also dedicating the standard easements that go on every plat, the exterior ones, as well as the one that will be over the 42-inch storm sewer. So all of that is on the rededicated on the plat that you just approved in the consent agenda. And then I just wanted to note that the Magellan easement that goes through the property is remaining. It's not part of the vacation. It's not part of the plat. It's a document and it's remaining in place. And so next slide, please. So the staff recommendation is that we vacate all of the drainage and utility easements as shown on that first slide, retain the Magellan easement, and that the easements be rededicated on the International Outreach Church Addition plat. Next slide. This is a public hearing for 1512 Woodhill Drive, which is International Outreach Church.
And Ms. Desiree, one of the things with the Magellan is because it's their easement, not ours.
That's correct, yes.
So we've had those discussions about the different utility easements like the Magellan or any of the other big utility companies. So this is a public hearing. I now open a public hearing. Is there anyone to speak to this item? Is there anyone to speak to this item? Okay. I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, do you have any questions for Ms. Desrude? This is some of the document cleaning up work that we have to do. Okay, may I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
it looks like Alyssa Carr wanted to speak on 5B.
5B, we're on 5A.
That's right, never mind.
I
got ahead
got,
of myself too.
yeah, we're in 5A, but we'll get to 5B. Okay, may I have a motion to approve 5A, please?
Motion to approve.
Okay, there's
Second.
and a second. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
We have a unanimous to approve the agenda, the item, and the motion passes. And now we will go to 5B, which is also a public hearing. And this is the resolution vacating the drainage and utility easement at 14420 County Road 5 as dedicated on the plat of Patricia Park. Ms. Desrude.
And can I have the presentation, please? Thank you. And next slide. So this is also somewhat of a cleanup item. The Ames construction site had been platted into one lot and block. And during that process, we found that this area in green is a dedicated public drainage and utility easement. However, those pink lines that kind of go underneath it are purely private easements that bring waste management services out to South Cross Drive. So typically we would not want a public drainage and utility easement because that indicates that there's some sort of city responsibility or some sort of public responsibility for those utilities. And they are not ones that we would typically maintain as they are solely serving the one property. Next slide, please. So the staff recommendation was to vacate the drainage and utility easements over the private utilities with a condition to record a private agreement or easement with waste management between the two parties. Late this afternoon, I received a letter from Waste Management asking for a continuance of this item because they have not resolved the issues with the private agreement at this time. We did have some correspondence back and forth, and so the council should have received that letter. It was kind of later in the afternoon here, but I have made a change to the resolution. There's a track changes version in that the condition read that the petition is conditionally granted and the easements described in Exhibit A are vacated in the city of Burnsville, subject to the following condition: that the petitioners and Waste Management of Minnesota, Inc., the owner of the property at 1901 Ames Drive, legally described as Lot 1, Block 1, Patricia Park, execute a mutually acceptable private utility easement and or easement agreement with respect to the public easement vacated by this resolution. And so I've made that change, and that would be what the staff recommends. And then I had received correspondence from Waste Management that they would be agreeable to that condition. And that condition would be, we would not vacate the easement. This action would vacate it with that condition in place. So I do know that somebody from Waste Management would like to speak to this, and I can stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Desrude? Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing. This is a public hearing. And speaking, we have Ms. Alyssa Carr, who wishes to speak. Ms. Carr, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Your Honor and council members. I appreciate it. I am counsel for Waste Management of Minnesota. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I did speak to Ms. Desrude earlier today, and she was kind enough to make that amendment to the resolution, and so I have no further objections. We are working with the proposed buyer for the property to try to reach an easement agreement that's acceptable. We just needed a little bit more time.
Okay, very good. And it sounds like you and Ms. Desrude have agreed, and you are all right with the language, amended language to the resolution.
Yes, the amended language provides that the agreement needs to be mutually acceptable. That was our concern.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for coming before us and for speaking.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Members of the council, if you have no concerns with regard to this item, I need a motion to adopt, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Workman. May the clerk please take the roll.
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you so much, Ms. Desrude. And now we go on to item 5C, and this is to adopt the COVID-19 response and recovery statement. Our city manager, Melanie Mescali, is presenting. Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Recently, the Council held an intentional discussion about priorities and expectations as we navigate through COVID-19 and the resulting recovery period as well. What the Council determined was within their priorities, they are safety and health, that we care about the physical and mental well-being of our community, quality of life, meaning we promote the best for all people in our community, and finding balance, aligning both health and business needs of our community. Accordingly, the council also discussed expectations as we move forward through COVID-19 and general operations. 3 of the expectations of the council adopted is to be adaptable. Your expectation is that we will use creativity and innovation and be flexible on how we problem solve. We'll be kind. We'll show empathy for diverse perspectives and needs. And we will communicate well. We'll share information to promote clarity and trust within the organization and the community. So with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions, and I thank the council for their time on this matter.
Okay. Any questions from Ms. Mascali? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please, to adopt the Burnsville COVID-19 response and recovery statement?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Councilmember Schultz makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. The clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. Thank you. The next item is 5D, and this is the item that is for a COVID-19 response update. Ms. Mascoli, thank you so much for putting this item on the agenda to communicate to our residents what's going on. Thank you. Ms.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And in alignment with your recently adopted expectations, this will be a standing item on our agendas for the foreseeable future. Tonight, we have asked our Finance Director, Jenny Rohde, to present information regarding the financial position of the city in light of COVID-19. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rohde at this time.
Ms. Rohde, welcome. I think we need to see Ms. Rohde. There she is. We got her. Hello, Ms. Rohde, and welcome.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. Yeah, I'm going to provide a financial update this evening. Staff has been actively monitoring the city's financial position and impacts of COVID-19 known at this time. This update will provide information on COVID-19 operational and financial impacts, including some financial projections. Staff will continue to closely analyze and monitor the impacts as we continue to navigate through response and recovery. Next slide, please. Similar to many of the businesses, the city has temporarily closed its facilities to the public through June 30th. Burnhamwood Golf Course reopened on April 18th with restriction and in compliance with the governor's executive order. Other operational impacts include staff. Many staff are working remotely. Some staff are rotating schedules. Some staff have been reassigned to other departments as needed. Many events and programming have been canceled. Most summer recreational programming, leagues and camps have been canceled or postponed. Additionally, no summer seasonal and part-time staff have been hired. Next slide, please. Financial impacts from revenue losses include a number of factors. In the general fund, property tax impacts include delays in collections and increases in delinquent taxes that are expected. For licenses and permits, most developers are moving forward, but some at a more prolonged pace. We anticipate a slowdown will be likely that would affect 2020 and revenues beyond 2020. Right now, we've forecasted about a 10% reduction. For EMS revenues, we've seen a decline in runs, and we also expect some declines in collections. So a 10% reduction in that area has initially been projected. For fines and forfeits, a decline in overall traffic and enforcement has resulted in a projected revenue reduction of approximately $55,000 for the year. Recreation programming and facility rentals, obviously we'll see a decline with the cancellation of programming and closed facilities. Also, investment income will be reduced. Over the past couple of months, interest rates have declined sharply, so we do expect investment income declines for the year. Next slide, please. The enterprise funds also will have some experience some revenue losses. Right now, the utility funds, we expect some payment delays and usage shifts or possibly declines. We have not seen that decline yet, but we'll continue to monitor that area closely. If the impacts of COVID-19 are longer term in nature, we would expect maybe a decline of approximately 3%. At least that's our projection at this time. The ice arena, the closure of that facility has resulted in an unsold ice time, programming cancellations, and loss of other facility revenues like concessions and things like that. The golf course, while it has opened with restrictions, there will be some revenue loss due to league cancellations and other cart rental revenues and concessions. Next slide, please. In addition to lost revenues, there are additional costs the city has incurred for COVID-19 response. To date, those costs are approximately $184,000, and those include emergency paid sick leave and COVID-19 flex leave, overtime, PPE purchases, health and cleaning supplies purchased, costs for mobilization for remote work for staff, and other costs such as public outreach, signage, and miscellaneous equipment. Additional expenses will be incurred if the virus has moderate or more long-term impacts. We would expect to see additional costs in those areas as well. Next slide, please. Additionally, there are some cash flow considerations. As far as property taxes go, Dakota County has approved a property tax penalty waiver for some first half property tax payments that are due May 15th. For eligible properties, this extends the due date to July 15th. No penalties will be charged if first half property taxes are paid by this date for eligible properties. This extension does not apply to taxes paid through escrow services and some other properties, including utilities. So under this plan, 100% of May 15th collections will be distributed to the city by May 27th. The county will distribute remaining collections by the end of July. So we expect some cash flow impact. At this time, we're predicting approximately $3.5 million through June and July. Additionally, we could see delays in other types of collections, EMS revenues, licenses and permits, and utility bills. Next slide, please. All these factors have been used to formulate some financial impact projections. The economic assumptions include 3 different time frames for our projections: a more short-term impact of COVID-19 from April through June, a moderate term impact from April through September, and a long-term impact from April through December. So each of these scenarios would assume continued closure of facilities or restrictions of programs, restricted operation for golf course, for example. Additionally, we've also included some reductions in known expenses, including part-time and seasonal staffing and other known current expense reductions. Next slide, please. This table shows the calculation. At this time, we've projected a net financial impact for selected funds. The financial impact is the net of lost revenue, some known reductions in expenses, and additional COVID-19 expenses. For each fund, the general fund, ice arena, and golf course, we've included a short-term impact, a moderate impact, and a longer-term impact. The totals across all 3 funds for the short-term impact are $347,522. For the moderate impact, $1,007,584. And for the longer-term impact, $1,872,357. Next slide, please. This is just kind of a graphical presentation of the information in the chart. It includes the total revenue or total financial impact for the general fund, ice arena, and golf course. With the longer term model, you can see more declines in revenues would be expected with the longer term impact. So we'd expect more of an impact as, or if the effects would continue longer term. Next slide, please. This chart is showing kind of the same, similar information broken out by each fund, the short-term impact, the moderate impact, and the longer-term impact. One thing to note, the longer-term impact, for example, for the general fund, the $1,289,343, that is approximately 3% of 2020 budgeted expenditures. For the ice arena, the longer-term impact, and again, this would be an April through December impact, would be approximately 50% of budgeted expenditures for 2020, and the golf course at $6,552, that's approximately 2% of 2020 budgeted expenditures. So, next slide, please. This slide shows the some Ames Center projections. The year-end forecasts here were completed by VenueWorks staff, and they show results for 3 possible reopening schedules. The first is a possible July open with a net loss of $126,667, an August open at $307,467, and a September open at September open at a loss of $376,533. Currently, VenueWorks staff is further analyzing the second half of the year into 2021, and they will provide the city with additional projections. Just kind of for comparison, budgeted net income for 2020 was originally approximately $53,000. Next slide, please. Some options for funding COVID-19 losses include the use of 2019 surplus in the general fund. 2019 general fund operations resulted in a surplus for the year of over $2 million. So those funds would be available for use. Additionally, fund balance reserves could be used to fund these extra expenses and revenue losses. There's a 35% policy for reserves in the general fund. At the end of 2019, we expect fund balance reserves in the general fund to be in excess of 50% of 2020 budgeted expenditures. So there is additional reserves there. Another possible available funding is available state and federal funding, which staff will apply for as funds are available. And currently we are maintaining a larger cash liquidity to manage cash flow. Next slide, please. This slide is just presented kind of in conjunction with the previous slide. It shows current cash balances available in all city funds as of April 30th. Additionally, we know we will anticipate receiving the first distribution of property tax collections before the end of May, so we would expect these balances to increase by the end of the month. Next slide, please. That wraps up my presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
Members of the council, any questions, comments for Ms. Mascoli and Ms. Rohde?
I raised my hand.
Member Keeley? Yeah, I have it. I got you. Councilmember Keeley?
Can you go back to the chart that shows the golf course and the column chart and the revenue losses or projected losses based on the timelines that you have? So it stands to reason that financial impact would be greater over time. Now the golf course in April, June, $22,000, April through September 11. Is that's all based on, since they just were able to open, in theory, that $22,000 number reflects the loss of the springtime, and that loss is estimated to get smaller because you anticipate more play, more rounds of play, and more revenue now that we've been able to open it. So it's reduced to 6,500 by the time we get to December, if you look at it, you know, throughout the entire, I guess, for the rest of the year from April forward.
Yep, that's part of it. Additionally, you know, kind of at the outset, we've lost some revenues for leagues. And I think we would anticipate that as those tee times are available, hopefully we'll make those revenues up. And with the restricted, kind of the restrictions on operations as well, we currently don't have part-time staff, and that also is a savings too over time, as we've been using other departmental staff. So
thank you.
Yep.
That's pretty good if we get back $6,500 by the end of the year. That's a pretty good recovery.
That would be nice. Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands. Ms. Muscali and Ms. Rhodey, thank you. Yes, Ms. Muscali. Okay.
Councilmember Workman has raised his hand, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, okay, I just saw that.
Sorry, I just snuck it in. Just a point of clarification. This is obviously part one of a much longer term conversation. We're going to be continuing to talk about this in more detail, and I would guess that's what our city manager was about to maybe get into a little bit.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of our budget. But this is good and open transparency for our residents to understand the impacts on municipal government with COVID.
Yes.
What businesses are experiencing are the same things that we are experiencing.
Madam Mayor and Council, yes, to Councilmember Workman's question, this is intended to be on our June work session. We would typically start looking at our 2021 budget at that work session. So we will continue to do analysis and review and continue to have some deeper conversations with the council and get some direction at that point and going forward.
So Ms. Muscali and I have been working with the U.S. Conference of Mayors to let them know so that they can also have good data to present to Congress and to the White House, why it is important and imperative that municipal government, cities and states should be reimbursed as well. So we're beginning a lot of that. Yesterday, I believe, was it yesterday? We had a meeting with FEMA. So that was good because there's some recoverable items there. But, and then also hopefully that the next bill will have funds for cities and states and counties. So Ms. Muscali, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, Madam Mayor and Council, I think that's a good point. We've got advocacy going on at the federal level as well as on the state level. Certainly local units of government are projecting pretty significant losses. So we're working with our legislative and other delegations to advocate for our needs.
So is there any other thoughts? If not, this is an update, and I'm really pleased, Ms. Muscali and Ms. Rhodey, that we have this report to our citizens. So we're open, transparent, and we're accountable to them with regard to our finances and our services. And Ms. Muscali, please extend our gratitude and appreciation to all of our staff for all of the hard work, because not only are they continuing to serve our community on a regular basis, but there's this added responsibility to all of you with regard to COVID-19. So thank you. I know there's just been a lot of work going on, so I'm On behalf of the city council members, we thank you for all that you and our staff are doing for the citizens of our community and for our business community.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll pass that along to our team.
Yes, thank you. With that, members of the council, there are no other items to come before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Move to approve or
Adjourn?
yeah, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Workman makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. May the clerk please take the roll.
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
And the motion passes, and we stand adjourned. Good night, and thank you for being with us.